Welcome back to Grid Gym. Welcome back to Grid Gym. Today is, what is this, Wednesday? And we're in October. I think it might be the 5th. It might be the 4th. I think it's the 4th. Anyway, we come to you every day, every weekday, talk about your health, your exercise, your mindset, your nutrition, and your recovery. Wednesday is kind of usually, I try to kind of keep it to a wisdom Wednesday, a wisdom Wednesday. I don't know if I have a ton of wisdom for you today, but I do have a few perspectives, which is what I think of all of this stuff. I was in a discussion yesterday where I really threw something out there, and it sounded like I was pouring advice on somebody, and I wasn't. That's not what what it was supposed to be about. That's not what the show is supposed to be about. The show is supposed to be about providing perspectives that anybody can learn from. And because I can't give you, I can only throw an idea out there, a perspective out there, and then you have to be responsible for marinating around in your mind to make it make sense to you, because ultimately you're going to have a different experience than me in this life. No matter what I say, we could read the exact same book and have two very different experiences. In fact, we are going to have two different experiences, because everything that you've based your life on up to this point is based on everything that has happened in your life up to this point. Same as me, and we've had different deals. Even if we are identical twins, we would have had different experiences. So we have different perspectives, and I'm a freaking weirdo. So I'm here to give out some of my perspectives because of all the turmoil, the trepidations, the things that have happened in my life that weren't so great that I had to overcome in some way, shape, or form. And when you go through those things, you find out a lot about yourself, find out a lot about life, and especially when you get help along the way. So I've had multiple coaches along the way that have taught me a ton of different things. They're all usually older people that were head of their field. So whether it's mindset, whether it's exercise, whether it was nutrition, or whether it was recovery, I went to these people, I asked them questions, and I got coaching, and I paid for coaching, and I did it over and over and over again, because no matter what it is, whatever it is in your life, I better turn up the light. Whatever it is in your life, if it's important, you get a coach. No matter what, if it is important, you get a coach. Okay, so health, wealth, relationships, time. I got a coach for every single one of those. All of them end up talking about time a little bit and time management, and why not try to manage time, but try to control time and try to expand time by going faster. But time is one of those byproducts of. But I've had relationship coaches, I've had wealth coaches, I've had health coaches, I've had exercise coaches, nutrition coaches, and they all teach you a ton of different things. I'm here to give some of my perspectives on those. But one of the things that we talked on yesterday, I just can't get this out of my head. I don't know about you guys, but I cannot get the Las Vegas thing out of my head. And maybe you're sick of hearing about it. But all that I can hear, all that people coming in saying are gun control, how did he get the weapons, what's happening with his, I think it was his fiance or his wife or whatever it was, talking about his brother, like different things like that. And I think that that's kind of almost like, I have no interest in being focused on those things. Like, he did get the guns in. People are going to find a way. People are very smart. You take a guy like Ted Kaczynski, he did a pretty crazy thing, but the guy's an absolute genius. However, he's nuts, right? He did a really bad thing. This is what happens when you take really smart people and they get a little bit of the wrong wiring and something bad happens, right? So what is going on in this guy's head is what I can't stop thinking about it. What was going on in this guy's head? It doesn't sound like he had any kind of motive. It doesn't sound like what was going on. Was he sick? Obviously, he had some kind of sickness going on in his head. Was he wrong? I think he was sick. I don't know if I believe in a right and a wrong at this point. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't know if I believe in a right and wrong. And who am I? If I'm going to sit there and he's in front of me and we can rewind time and all of a sudden I'm in the same room as that guy, is it really going to help me to disagree with him in that moment? Or is it like, if you think this pen is white and I think this pen is black, we are both correct. We are both correct that if you think this is white and I think this is black, we are both correct in our belief structure. So what does it help me to fight him on his belief structure and tell him that he's wrong? I think he might have some sick stuff going on in his head there. So what are some of the perspectives that I'm going over in my head? Okay, because I'm trying to figure this out. Like, I'm trying to figure out how does somebody just go in and do this? Because I saw it happen with Columbine. There was 2 or 3 others that happened right before Columbine where these kids just went in and started shooting people up. It's just like, God, this is so sad. Why is this happening? You know, did this happen way back in the day and it never got reported? Or is this a new thing? And I think this is a new thing. I think that's what I really think. And that's why I put these posters up. That's why these posters are up at the gym, because I think that we are in a new realm of kind of emotional, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, a new realm of the hierarchy of needs where our survival has been met and we don't know what to do with our lives. We don't know what to do with our mind. We don't know what to do with our thoughts. We don't know what to do with meaning. And religion isn't sufficing this anymore like it has in the past. And that's not me putting down a religion. Really, back in the day, religion was this, which I'm going to get into here in a second, but religion historically was an incredible tool that made humanity expand in population out at an incredible pace and at an incredible level, because nothing else made for a more cohesive work environment. Okay? We could work together, we could cooperate on a level never known before, because we were all operating on the same set of rules that religion provided. Which is very, very, very interesting. Anthropology is a huge study of mine, so that's one of those things that comes up in there a lot. But what was this guy? So, and people keep asking me questions. They're like, "What do you think about? What do you think about?" I think the situation is terribly sad. That's what I think about this situation. I think it is so sad, because I don't know what other word to put towards it. Is it tragic? Yes. Is it? Should you be angry? I don't think the anger is going to help anything. All that's going to do is ruin more of your experience and feed into that bullshit that this guy was probably feeling. Was that fear of not being enough? Are you going to be all in, or are you going to be afraid that you're not enough today? That's what that sign is about. That afraid of not being enough. The symptoms. Think about them. There's stress, anger, anxiety. What do you think this guy was probably feeling? He's probably feeling deep, dark turmoil that he was never enough, and he had this pain deep inside of him. So I look at this, and I'm like, from the victim standpoint, that is so sad. What could the victim have done? Nothing, besides get out of there as soon as it started happening. But the perpetrator of the story, the perpetrator of the situation, I think it's so sad that this guy felt or thought that, or would think of doing this and go through with it the way that it happened, or at all. I shouldn't say the way that it happened, at all. So I think it's sad for him too. This guy probably must have had something like a really sad life. I mean, what would draw them to do this? So a few of the explanations that are rolling through my head, like, was he, and this is going to sound crazy, but was he an altruist? Okay, so altruism is like idealism, like you want the best for people. Okay, so think about that for a little bit, because I'm like the ultimate of idealists. And on the personality charts, I'm the idealist of the idealist of the idealist. Those are INFPs in the Myers-Briggs. So what happens with these people that have these huge hearts and they just want to help everybody out? They want to be the great bearers of truths and try to be there for people and try to make the world a better place. What happens when they, aren't able to the way that they wanted, in the big way that they wanted to? And what happens when society and people just let you down over and over and over again? Now that's really sad, right? Okay, so the cynic is really just a disappointed idealist, and I've been there. Go look at like a lot of my old posts from years and years ago. I reread those now that Facebook's popping them up and saying, hey, 9 years ago, hey, 10 years ago, hey, 6 years ago. It's like, gosh, I wish I would have been more positive. I wish I could have seen the good in me. I wish I could have found a way to be all in with me instead of succumbing to that fear of not being enough. This is mirrored, so I keep pointing back and forth, but I wish I could have decided, are you going to be all in today, or are you going to be afraid that you're not enough today? Are you going to choose you today, or are you going to be afraid that you're not enough today? Are you going to put yourself first today, or are you not going to be afraid that you're not enough today? Are you going to love yourself today, or are you going to be afraid that you're not enough today? The disappointed idealist has trouble. The cynic has trouble with loving themselves, with putting themselves first. So is the idealist. So, but maybe this guy was going for like less people. I agree that there's a population issue, but I don't think this is the way to do it. If they were going to go for a population issue, I think birth control probably is the better way to do it. Less babies is probably a good thing, not this way. Okay, what about religion? Was he just a religious fanatic? I don't really know. I don't know if we covered up any of this stuff, but if he was a religious fanatic and he's murdering people, from my standpoint, this sounds a little harsh, but I don't really care. If your religion asks you to murder other people, then you should be the first in line to do so. Religion should be, from my my perspective, religion should be full of grace. It should be a sense of grace. It shouldn't be a sense of guilt like most religions have become. It should be a sense of grace. It should be living with grace and loving yourself and being able to live peacefully and all that kind of good stuff. But was the guy a sociopath? Sociopath is one of those words that gets really screwed up in our society. Technically speaking, a sociopath is not a Sherlock Holmes style character where you have no feelings. People were calling Lance Armstrong a sociopath when he came out and said that he did steroids, but that's not a sociopath. A sociopath isn't someone that has no feelings. A sociopath isn't someone that is not charismatic. A sociopath is very charismatic, usually very smart. About 4% of the population are clinical sociopaths. The sociopath is the person who has apparently no ability to love who they are. And I know a sociopath, for real, a sociopath, wonderful person in a lot of ways, and a terrible person in a lot of ways. But what it really comes down to is a sociopath is the ultimate martyr. Nothing is, and they want to bring everybody into that martyrdom. They want to bring, oh, poor me, in that massive, deep, dark hole that they live their lives in. That's the sociopath. So could this guy have been a sociopath and fooled everybody along the way? Most people that are sociopaths, you would never agree that they are a sociopath. You'd be like, no, he's a nice guy. What do you mean? I don't get it. Tell you're in a circle, and then he's bringing you in, and then he might make you feel right at home and set you down and make you feel real comfortable, because misery loves company, right? So sociopath, 4% of the population are sociopath, and sociopaths aren't what you think. They're just the ultimate martyr, and they're trying to, they have no ability to love themselves. They have no ability to do all this mental health stuff that we're actually talking about here. And it sounds like if you talk to a counselor about this, which is how I learned about sociopaths, otherwise I wouldn't know about sociopaths. I talked with a couple counselors about this, and to try to figure this thing out. And it sounds like their job with the sociopath is not to get the sociopath to try to love themselves. It's not to get the sociopath to try to think differently. It's to try to dampen or control the tornado that they are and their loved ones and lives. So that's the job of the counselor with the sociopath, and because they're trying to bring other people into their misery. So could this guy have been a sociopath? Sure. Could he have been a religious fanatic? Sure. Could he be an altruist? Sure. Could he have had a very serious deal with mental health? I think that's probably a no-brainer at this point. It sounds like we just don't know much about the person, and I'm not really sure. But could it be a big thing with mental health, or could he be? And I'll get into that one in a second. But could he just be a patsy? And this is one of my favorite things: conspiracy theory, right? And people and anybody that I've opened up to about this, usually close friends, but I'm like, he could have been a patsy. This could be a conspiracy. He could have just been put in that position and other people thrown out there. And I'm going to sound a little crazy here, but this is not too far off to think. In past wars and past history, the United States government has actually come out and said that they did this. Is they put Hispanic soldiers, United States soldiers, in rooms and gassed them to see what the gas would do to these Hispanic soldiers. Now, so to say that the government wouldn't come in and do something like this is not that far-fetched. But I really, really hope that is not the case. But it happened, and it's awful, and what can we do about it now? So could it be a conspiracy? Maybe. I kind of doubt it, but I do like conspiracy theory. They're kind of interesting to analyze. Now, from a mental health standpoint, we have to bring religion and we have to bring spirituality back into this, because we have had as humans, we have had spirituality for tens of thousands of years, right? So it's been around for a long time, and much of our DNA is based on, so the people who weren't religious, the people who weren't spiritual, were they were the outliers of the group, right? So they would not have passed on their genetics as much as the people on the inner part of the group. That's how mammals started. That's how people being social started. So the more social people were, the more ability they had to survive. So the more they did survive and pass on their genes, and the more the others died off, and it made us more and more and more social. So spirituality and religion is partially in your DNA. And I don't mean that from the standpoint that you have to be a Christian or you have Muslim, Islam, or something like that. I say you could worship anything. The definition of religion is based on worshiping of a higher power. Has some other words in there, but look up the definition of religion. Anyway, you could be religious about anything. You could pray to the god of food. You could pray to the god of winter, summer, fall, the weather, lightning, sex, work, whatever you want. You could pray to any of those gods and worship them and make that your religion. So what does that have to do with any of the mental health stuff? Well, in the past, historically, religion was our mental health scenario. It gave us a path. It gave us a framework for how we were going to get through the mental side of things. And now we don't really have much of a coming of age story anymore. You know, we go to college, and that's pretty pathetic. Coming of age. There's no old men that takes you out in the wilderness and teaches you the ways of the world and how to hunt and fish and do all these kind of things. There's no walkabouts in Aboriginal cultures. There's no coming of age. So the religion used to do that. Now we don't have that. And now we're in this new level. I really think we're in this new level of spirituality where we don't know what to do with our own mind. And so we end up with depression, anxiety, stress, and we're all trying to be super, super happy. Now, the thing with this is, with depression, especially, and with anxiety, what are we really talking about here? This is one of the questions when people are like, well, I'm depressed. Well, what does depression mean to you? For one, that's not my job. I'm a strength coach. I'm not a counselor. So it's referral out time. But if we're just having a discussion about anxiety and depression and stress and these kind of things, what does it mean? What does depression mean to you? Is depression that you're just sad for an elongated period of time? Is it you're sad for one day? Does it mean you have no energy? Does it mean that you kind of have suicidal thoughts? What does it mean to you? I think there's a lot of different ways to look at depression. But regardless, the more that you focus on depression, the more that you focus on anxiety, and anxiety to me, depression to me is really just an internalized anger. So instead of expressing your anger, the fear of not being enough, you internalize it until it becomes a depression and it eats you, tears you apart from the inside out. That's how I look at depression. When I look at anxiety, I think anxiety is just forgetting is just that fear of not being enough. You get scared that you're not enough in the moment. And I was a little bit nervous before doing this talk because this is a weird one for me. So I still get nervous. I still have to manage that. I still have to do that sign. I still have to go, am I going to be all in today? Or am I going to be afraid that I'm not enough? And you do too, because you're always going to default back to, it's mirrored. Facebook's mirroring me. So it's back to that one. That one. Jeez. But you got to ask yourself those two questions. Now, so depression, internalized anger, and anxiety is forgetting how to do what you know how to do, regardless of whether you're experiencing either of these. If you focus on them and you practice doing them, you're going to get more of them. So, and people think that I sound really harsh when I say this, but it's not. This is a very caring thing. This is pointing out something. It's kind of like Newton's law, right? An object in motion tends to stay in motion. If you move, you're more likely to stay in and be. If you express energy, you're more likely to push into more energy. If you stay down, if you stay low, and you take and you say, "Oh, I get depression so bad that I can't get out of bed," it's because you're staying down. It's time to get up. It's time to get moving. And a smile on your face and walking downstairs, walking back upstairs might be the one thing that you need to do. You just need to get wins. I'm getting a little off subject there, but anxiety, depression, the more that you practice these things, the better you're going to get at them. And you don't want to get better at being depressed. You don't want to get better at being anxious. You don't want to have that habit. I mean, maybe you do, but I sure shit don't. I don't want any of that in my life. It doesn't serve my goals. It doesn't serve the people that I care about at all. So I want to get rid of those. So I manage them because you don't get to get rid of them. They're always there. And then what about happy? This is one of the things. This is one of those things with mental health that nobody wants to talk about. Everybody pushes towards the happy thing. They're like, it's all about being happy, right? It's so good if you feel happy. Like, bullshit. Absolute bullshit. The goal is not to be happy as fuck 100% of the time, no matter what. If you're happy if your goal is just to be happy no matter what all of the time, I think you missed out on some things. Okay? There's nothing, feeling sad is a very powerful emotion. If you're feeling sad, something's out of harmony. Your environment, your joy, your body, your mind, is something in your environment, your energy is out of harmony. So you feel sad. Somebody dies. There's a good friend of mine just passed away 2 weeks ago, and it's a weird thing to even think about. The idea that he's not around anymore blows my mind. But he's gone. He's not here anymore. And the idea that I couldn't just like pick up the phone and call him or text him right now, it just seems crazy. And when you sit down and accept that, it's so sad. Should I not feel sad? Should I feel happy after this guy passed away? Well, it's a celebration of life. It's still sad. It's not like I can celebrate and still be sad. It is sad. It is not a time to be happy. And it's sad. The more you feel if you can't feel sad, you're probably not gonna. If you can't feel grief, you're probably not gonna feel much love. And those two are the two big things. Like, if you can't feel grief, you're probably not going to feel much love. So is the goal to be happy all the time? No, I don't think that it is. You're gonna have ups and downs, and happy might not be the thing. I don't think that the expectation that you should be happy all the time, I think, is part of the problem with the mental health deal, and part of the problem that we're having with the emotional side of where we are in our world today, is that the expectation, like if you watch parents, I'm not saying all parents, and I'm not criticizing how people parent. I'm pointing out the parents who are in competition with other parents on who is the best parent, if I'm going to be giving someone a hard time here. But they ask their kid, are you happy? 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 That kid doesn't know what happy is. That kid just knows that things change as time goes along. That kid is extremely in love with that kid right now. He's doing a great job. That is a parent projecting their fear of not being a good enough parent. So is that what you want to put as an implication in your kid? Like, that the kid has to be happy so that you can feel like a good enough parent? Like, that's just one thing that I notice. I know that I'm not a parent. I know that I'm going to catch flack for that. That's okay. Is the goal to be happy 100% of the time? I don't think so. Is the goal to make your kids happy 100% of the time? I don't think so. I think I think you're going to deal with times of sadness. You're going to deal with times of adversity. You're going to deal with times of highs and lows. And so you have to be ready for those. The goal isn't just to be up at an extreme level all the time. So when it comes to this Las Vegas thing, I think it's so sad for the victims. And I don't see the point in hating the perpetrator. I don't see the point in being angry at the perpetrator. I get from a disappointment standpoint with this, with whatever happened. I don't know if it was conspiracy. I don't know if the guy was an altruist. I don't know if he was a religious fanatic, let's call him. Fanatic is kind of a weird word. Like fan is short for fanatic, so it's kind of like this. It's kind of a strange word, but I don't know if he was a sociopath. I don't know if he had a mental health issue, but I would guess that he probably does. And I think more and more people are having more and more mental health issues because we're so focused on depression. We're so focused on the expectation that you have to be happy all the time. We're so focused on telling people that they have an anxiety disorder. That we're so focused on telling little kids that if they don't take this drug, they can't be like the other kids. I think that we have a huge mental health issue in this in our world, and I don't think it has anything to do with your brain or society around you. I think it has to do with the messages that we're giving kids at a young age and the messages that we're giving ourselves and what we're accepting, instead of accepting the responsibility that you are 100% responsible for your life. If it is to be, it's up to me. Just like if it is to be in your life, it's up to you. But this is a sad deal. This is a sad deal. This is my little. I wanted to take it just to get this off my chest, so that hopefully I can stop thinking about the Las Vegas thing. It's it's wild. The number of things that are popping up. I mean, the shootings on college campuses. There was a shooting in the Ped Mall just like a month ago in Iowa City. Columbine, 9/11, all these things that are happening in the world, and part of my head goes to, oh, it's because everybody has one of these, right? And they have a camera attached to it, and they can share it instantaneously. At this point, that worked for a certain amount. I think that probably worked. That explanation worked for the election, that you saw that there was more violence and more that stuff might have happened 40, 50 years ago too. You just didn't see it and it didn't get reported. But I don't think that's happening with this bigger violence stuff. And the gun control thing that keeps on coming up. There is no argument that if a gun is laying on the ground and nobody picks it up, that it can't do anything. So it has to. If you agree that everybody should not have a gun, I don't really care. I think that we need to take a hard, long look at this mental health thing and what we're given to the world as our messages, and what we expect of others. Do we expect them to develop a mental disorder because that's what everybody else does, or do we go the hard route and expect them to challenge and confront the beast that is creating the turmoil in their life? So anyway, that's my 2 cents in a little over 2 minutes, let's say. But thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. Whenever you guys tune in, it means the world to me. Hopefully, this gave some interesting perspectives. I don't know. You guys can comment down below on what you think. And I don't expect anybody to share this video. It's a heavy topic in the world right now, and a lot of this talk today was probably less for you guys and more for me, and trying to make sense of all this in my head. But at this point, I think it's even more muddy than it was before. I don't know. Very, very sad time for the perpetrator, for the victims, and for probably just for humanity in general, because this is a not good deal. It's a pretty sad thing. But anyway, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Please take the time. I'd really like to hear you guys' perspectives. Even if it's just in a direct message, if you guys don't feel comfortable putting your opinion or your perspective in a public forum, you can hit the message bar and you can send it to me directly. That way it's just you and I having a discussion, not the whole world seeing it. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it.